guys, and welcome back to my channel. And if you're new, welcome to my channel. My name is Samantha, and today I'm going to be talking about my miscarriage at 19. For anyone who is new to my channel, this is my second miscarriage. I did have a miscarriage when I was 17. So if you want to hear about that story, they are two completely different stories. So go check it out. It is my first video on this channel. But also, if you guys have not seen my last video, finding out it was twins, please go watch that because that's kind of where the story leaves off. So a little recap. I had started bleeding one day. My doctor said to go to the hospital. We went, they did blood work, urine, ultrasounds. They said everything seemed okay, and that there were two babies in there. So we did find out it was twins, and that's kind of what we ended the night with. The next day, my bleeding seemed to be going down. I didn't feel like I was bleeding a lot, and I was confident in the fact that it was just some weird thing that happened because it was twins. So we were kind of relieved. We didn't think we were having a miscarriage anymore. And then I had to leave my house, so I went to pick up my baby sister from school really quick, which is like literally 3 minutes from the house. So I picked her up from school, got back in the car. I wasn't feeling great. I was getting, sharp cramps, and I just was really not feeling well. I just wanted to go home and go back, lay down, because I had been taking it pretty easy the whole day. And then I had to stop by my work, which is an animal hospital. I had to go pick up some meds for my dog. So while I was in there waiting for someone to grab the meds for me, I just felt so much pain. Like, I did not feel good at all. I knew something was going on. I wanted to go home and lay down. So the car ride back, I was literally crying in the car. I was not feeling okay. And I got out of the car, I looked at Ben, I said, please go get Violet, like my baby sister in the back. I was like, unbuckle her, take her in please, like I need to go to the bathroom. And I run into the house, I go to the bathroom, I pull my pants down, and there's just blood everywhere, like all down my legs, everywhere. I called my doctor and I was like, hey, I was just at the hospital yesterday. They said it's twins, not a miscarriage that they can tell, but I'm bleeding a lot and I am in a lot of pain. And they basically said that my doctor wasn't there, so go straight to the hospital. I called my mom, I told her, she's like, yeah, definitely go to the hospital. So my cousin was living with us at the time, so he was watching Violet while we left. So Ben went upstairs, got me new clothes. I wiped off a little bit, and we went straight to the hospital. The whole car ride, I was like in so much pain. Like, I just kept saying, I was like, drive faster. Like, this is the time you can drive fast. Like, go to the hospital as fast as you can, please. So we got there, which was like 25 minutes from our house. So we got there and I walked in. Ben checked me in because literally when I stood, I just bled everywhere. So I was back in the bathroom. He checked me in, and then they called me over to get my vitals after a little bit. Did all that. They recognized me from the night before. I told them what was going on. And they did get me a wheelchair so that I wasn't having to, stand up and just blood come out every single time, make like a huge mess everywhere all over myself. So basically it was the same routine as the night before. Took a while to get in. Once we got in, they did some blood work and they sent me to get an ultrasound. And then after that, it was honestly just a waiting game. I was put in this area where it's like a bunch of chairs with like a tiny wall between you, like enough where the chair is like covered, but you can like see the people's like legs. Like, you can like see people next to you. It wasn't really like closed off. It literally felt like we were just like sitting in like a line. And it was just a bunch of people that were in the emergency room for whatever reason, and I was in so much pain. I'm like screaming, crying. We were literally there for hours just waiting on our blood results and our ultrasound results. So we were honestly just waiting on the doctor at this point. I did have to keep going to the nurse who was in charge of that area and keep asking for more pads because I was just bleeding like crazy. And there was one point where I was like, all right, I need to go back to the bathroom. Like, when I don't feel good, I go to the bathroom a lot. Like, I feel like, all right, let me just get it all out, you know? So I kept going to the bathroom, and this time I get up to go to the bathroom, and like I kept having to like pull my pants down really fast because while I took my pants down and I went to go like sit, like blood clots were like coming out, and they would like fall onto my pants and like get my pants all bloody. Like, TMI, but like if that ever happened to you, please let me know because it wouldn't like stop happening. So I kept like having to like pull my pants down and sit really quick, and then I just felt like huge blood clots like coming out. Like I had like no control. It's not like I was like peeing and like stuff was coming out. Like, I just pulled it down and like everything like flowed out. Like, it literally felt like my organs were freaking coming out my vagina. Like, it was the weirdest feeling in the world. You like couldn't stop it. It just kept coming. I wasn't allowed to use tampons, which they would probably just fly out anyway. Like, everything was just coming out like a freaking like a wave just like going through, and it was just horrible. And I went to the nurse and I was like, hey, I'm bleeding a lot. Like, I feel like this isn't normal. I don't understand why there's so much blood. Like, this is so weird. Like, I've had a miscarriage before. I don't understand. And he just kept saying like, yeah, well, you're pregnant with twins, you know, it happens, that's what a miscarriage is. And I'm like, no, like, it's a lot. Like, please, like, no one has even like looked. Like, can someone like look at it? Like, there's no way this is normal. So I wasn't feeling comfortable. I was in so much pain. And eventually the nurse from the night before who told us it was twins came over, and he pulled us into like this like side room where it was just like a room with like a curtain. And he basically told us that we were having an incomplete miscarriage, which meant that the babies were still in there, but they had shrunk a little bit, and that my HCG levels were dropping significantly, which means that my body was in the process of having a miscarriage, but the babies hadn't been released yet. So I would have to go back to my OB to get an ultrasound to see if everything was cleared out, basically. And that they didn't have to like scrape it themselves and take it out. So by this point, you know, obviously I'm upset, but I was in so much pain, and I kind of already knew it was happening anyway, that he said things and it went like in and out. Like, I was like, cool, can I have something for pain? Like, I was like, I don't feel right, like, just please, like, do something. Like, and so we went back to our little like hallway of chairs, and I was just like screaming, crying. Like, I didn't care about the people around me. I was in so much pain, and I like didn't know how to handle it anymore. Like, we had been there for hours. I had no help pain-wise. I was just crying. I had no idea what to do. I had spoke to the nurse again, and I basically said that I spoke to him, the other nurse, and I was like, I'm bleeding a lot. I don't know what's going on. I don't feel comfortable. And he was like, do you want me to ask the doctor if you can spend the night? And I was like, yes, finally, like, something that will help. Like, I just don't feel like comfortable to go home, and like, I don't know, I just felt like something was wrong. And so he left, he spoke to the doctor, and I guess like management type thing, whoever's like in charge of people staying the night, and he came back and he was like, unfortunately you can't. You know, they said no, unfortunately miscarriages are something we see every single night, and they just said that it's not needed for you to stay. So he said that they were going to send me home, and someone was going to come with the discharge papers for me to sign and all that information that I needed, and they were going to give me some pain meds. So a woman came over and she gave us like our discharge papers and all that, and then she came over with a whole Percocet, and I took that. She said it would take about 30 minutes to kick in, and that they were prescribing me Percocet and then Zolfran for nausea, because she told me that Percocet will make you extremely nauseous if you don't take it with any anti-nausea meds. So I was like, okay, like, whatever, I don't care. Like, at this point, I was just like, cool. And so, but when I was at the hospital, even though she had said that, which I didn't register this at the time, even though she had said Percocet will make you nauseous, you're getting a prescription for Percocet and nausea medicine, she still gave me just Percocet at the hospital. So I didn't process that at all I thought was, yay, I'm having pain meds, hopefully this helps. She said it will take 30 minutes to kick in. We left the hospital, drove home. I was like crying in pain the whole time home on the phone with my mom and my stepdad, and they just kept telling me like, Sam, stop crying, you know, it's okay. And I was like, I'm not crying because I'm sad. Like, I was crying because I was in so much pain. Like, it was the most painful thing I'd ever been through, honestly. I don't know how people freaking have birth. I'm sure birth is a lot worse than that, but I literally was just in so much pain. But yeah, we eventually got home, and right when we got home, I went straight to the bathroom, pulled my pants down, blood everywhere. So Ben went upstairs to go get me a change of clothes, and I was on the phone with my mom still on the toilet, and I had started feeling a lot better. So by this point I was like, cool, like the meds are kicking in. I feel honestly so much better. Like I can actually talk. I'm not screaming, crying. And I was on the phone with my mom, and I was kind of like feeling dizzy, and I was like, hey mom, I'm gonna pass out. And she just kept talking, and she didn't hear me. And I was like, Mom, I'm gonna pass out. She kept talking. I was like, okay, I'm gonna pass out now. And she was like, wait, no, don't do that. And I'm like, no, like I don't feel right. Like I'm passing out. And so I laid on the floor, and she was like, tell Ben to get you water. So he grabbed me water, and he like put it on the floor next to me. And I went to pick it up, and it just dropped. Like I had no, like, I couldn't even like lift anything. I felt like so weak, so like lightheaded. So after I laid there for a little bit, Ben helped me walk up the stairs, and I laid in bed for probably about 10 minutes before I got up to go to the bathroom. I didn't feel like great. Like I felt off, like just really weird. Like he had to like help me walk to the bathroom. And I threw up because Percocet makes you nauseous, and I threw up my Percocet. So unfortunately, I only got to feel okay for about 15 to 20 minutes. So I threw up my Percocet, and I did not have my prescription yet, and I wasn't able to take another one anyway. So all through the night, I was screaming, crying in pain. Ben had to sleep on the floor because I would just turn all sorts of crazy ways and cry and scream, and I just kept trying to get comfortable. Like I would have probably like kicked his ass off the bed anyway, but it was literally the most painful thing in the world, and I hope no one has to experience that pain. And I don't have my final report, I forgot to grab it, but basically what happened was, on the report, it had said that the babies were each measuring 6 weeks exactly, which the night before they had been measuring 6 weeks one day, and that my HCG levels had dropped, I believe, around 2,000 from just the one night. And also it had said on my final report that I had a hemorrhage, which they didn't tell me at all. I literally knew nothing about it until I read the final report, which definitely explains the bleeding a lot more. So I don't really know why they didn't tell me that when I was in the hospital. I thought that was pretty weird. But yeah, I had a hemorrhage and had the babies shrunk, and my levels dropped a ton. So it was a clear indication of a miscarriage, but they were just still in there. So after that, they said in about a week, I had to go back to my OB and get an ultrasound. So I wasn't allowed to work for 2 weeks. Wasn't allowed to lift anything over 25 pounds. I wasn't allowed to lift anything over 25 pounds. So I went back a week later for my ultrasound, and the woman basically was like, yep, everything's out, all good. Because basically if they didn't like come out naturally, they have to like go in and take it out, because they're not alive in there, they're kind of just in there, and it's not good for your body, obviously. So luckily that like we didn't have to go through that whole procedure as well, because that would have just added on to the stress and pain of everything that was happening. So everything had come out easily, and then I was still off of work, and then when I went back after the 2 weeks were over, I was allowed to go back to work, but I wasn't allowed to lift anything over 25 pounds for just 1 week. So my job was pretty understanding of that. The people I worked with knew that I wasn't allowed to lift things, and if I was like, hey, can you carry this for me, like they would. So I went back to work, and then after a week I was able to go back to normal, no big deal. And yeah, after that everything was fine. I did get my period, I believe, like a week after I went back to work, which was super weird to me. It was only like 3 or 4 weeks after my miscarriage, so it just seemed really weird because my first miscarriage, I didn't get my period for 2 months. So I had even like called my doctor and I was like, hey, I'm bleeding, like there's no way this is my period, right? And they're like, no, you're fine, it's probably your period. And I'm like, I don't know, I just thought it was really weird. So yeah, I got my period back, and then after that my cycles were fine. Everything was kind of back to normal physically, but the pain was literally 10 out of 10, guys, for the first day. After that I felt so much better. Like the next day I woke up feeling better, and I just kept getting better and better every day. But oh my god, that first day I literally thought I was going to die. So thank you guys so much for watching, and if you guys had stumbled across this video because you are going through a miscarriage, or you know anyone with a similar situation, or you think you're going through a situation like this, I am so sorry. I understand it is very stressful, it is very painful, and it is very sad to have something like this happen to you. If you want, you guys can leave me a comment down below or DM me on Instagram, which is also linked down below. I would love to talk to you guys. And yeah, thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to my channel for more content from me. And please be sure to go back and look at my previous videos where I talk about my other miscarriage as well as my 19 and pregnant story. So thank you guys so much, and you have a good one. Bye!